Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Let's say that Iran tomorrow will say, I think we need nuclear weapons. I think they will help us. What do you think would happen? What do you think if Iran says, you know what, nuclear weapons, we're going to look for them. I think one way or another, we're going to acquire them. What do you think will happen? I guarantee you, the United States of America will start pointing fingers and probably, well, I don't know, maybe hit here and there with precision strikes in Iran. Do you think Iran will just be forgotten about that? Let's say you have a guy from Iran, let's say not Iran per se, but like a president or something. You're going to have an MP or something. Do you think the Americans will say, just a crazy guy? You know exactly what would happen if one Iranian official or, MP will say, oh, yeah, I think nuclear rockets, we need some nuclear rockets. Well, that's exactly what a Ukrainian MP says. Anything? Crickets? Kind of like. So let me show you this little article from Russia Today. It is from the 19th of February. So you see, I take you in the future because right now is 18 here. 2024. Ukraine needs nuclear rockets, MP says, and he's with his imbecile here. Now, Kiev must reclaim its nuclear status to confront Moscow, a Ukrainian lawmaker has argued. But what do you mean confront? Are you going to use them? And if you are thinking of using them, should Russia claim that they have been attacked by the West, therefore they're entitled to use it on you because the West uses you? Let's say the Russians think that way. They're just crazy. That means you give them legitimacy to do something, because if you would have them, you would confront Moscow? Well, this is whatever. Let's move on. Unless Ukraine obtains a full NATO membership, it will have no other choice but to develop or somehow else obtain, buy it, an arsenal of atomic weapons, according to MP Alexei Goncharenko. The Ukrainian lawmaker pressed U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on the issue at the Munich Security Conference on Saturday, wondering what other options Kiev has against Moscow besides, and I'm quoting, becoming a member of NATO, allying with a nuclear power, or restoring our nuclear potential. But the American diplomat dodged the question for now. And I'm quoting, dodged the question, did not even say, NATO first, in order to be a NATO member state, you should be not at war. The other one, you will never have nuclear weapons. Sit down. But what does it tell you? We want you in NATO because we want to destroy Russia. And regarding you having nuclear weapons, niet. All right, once again, I'm quoting, I will say directly and openly, I support the return of nuclear weapons to Ukraine, and I believe that this is our only option for survival. Well, what if the Russians would say that their only option for survival is, using it? Because they have it, and look, these guys are still pushing it in Ukraine. Looking at the Russians' perspective, Goncharenko wrote in a Telegram post on Sunday evening, noting that Blinken did not answer his question. What answer would have been the right one? Sit down. We're not talking this with you. The lawmaker went on to argue that, and I'm quoting, if NATO does not want to accept us, then nuclear rockets must be made, end quote, insisting that Kiev would gladly endure any potential sanctions for the breach of the non-proliferation treaty. So we're going to get them. We're not going to listen to you. Screw you. I told you, my friends, the beast that you feed will turn around and bite you. It happened to Russia in this. It happened to United States in Afghanistan with the Mujahideens. It happened with the Americans in many places where they fed the beast, like Saddam. gave them some kind of weapons that they used them against Iran in the 1980 some war, remember? And then they say, oh, Saddam Hussein gassed his own people. With whose weapons? Who gave them chemical weapons? History doesn't start there. History starts only in 1990 or 1991 when they invaded, all right, Kuwait. Move on. And I'm quoting, we don't need 1,000. We need 20. He claimed without elaborating how exactly he expects Kiev to obtain the nukes. Very easy. How Pakistan obtained it. How Israel obtained it. Oh, sorry, Israel doesn't have it. I take that back. Ukraine has almost no chance of producing nuclear weapons on its own, or maybe from the black market, or, a dark market. The head of the country's National Security and Defense Council, Alexei Danilov, this guy over here, acknowledged last year while hinting that Kiev may eventually host a Western-made atomic arsenal. So the Russians should be just okay. All these things that these guys are talking about, they would have done it if Russia did not intervene. That's the Russian state. What do you think? Should the Russians wait until these guys deploy the nuclear weapons in Ukraine? What would you have done? The movement or the expansion of NATO was always eastward towards Iran or maybe India. After the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, Ukraine inherited about 1/3 of the country's nuclear warheads, along with the accompanying infrastructure. In 1994, it voluntarily gave up the weapons in exchange for security guarantees from the US, Britain, and Russia under the Budapest Memorandum. However, Russian officials have repeatedly said that Western interference in Ukraine's domestic affairs has undermined the treaty. Why? Because Ukraine was supposed to be neutral. Got that? All right, now we got to move on. Ukrainian president, again, this guy, Ukrainian president, Zelensky, signaled that Kiev might try to reclaim its nuclear status shortly before the start of Moscow's military campaign in 2022. According to Russian President Vladimir Putin, Ukraine was in talks to acquire nuclear weapons before the start of the conflict, while former Russian leader Dmitry Medvedev has said Kiev's threats to restart its nuclear program were among the main factors that prompted Russia to launch its military operation. Regardless if it was before or after, I can't verify that one. But even if it was before or after, Russians had to do it from their perspective. Otherwise, these guys would have, the NATO countries would have moved, United States, Great Britain, would have moved military infrastructure and weapons, like they did in Romania and Poland, next to Russian borders. Now, if you feel comfortable with that, imagine that the Russians would do that in Mexico, Cuba, or idiot Justin Trudeau's Canada. How about that? Well, now you're going to say, well, yeah, but there would have been a no. So what can you do, my friends? This is it. They want nuclear weapons. Why? To deter Russia? They only need 20. With the guys in charge over there, I think I have just a gut feeling that they would have no problem on using them. That's my gut feeling. I'm entitled to have an opinion on that. I should be entitled in a free society with free speech to have any opinion and express it and share it without being, sanctioned for it. It's just an opinion. That's free speech. Now, if someone hurts you for expressing your opinion, that means that person wants to silence you, wants to censor you, or by hurting you, wants to make you censor yourself. This is how YouTube works. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.